Peter could count to 20 before he started school. Now he counted backwards from 10. 6, 5, 4. 0 saw the tilting back of his head and the raising of his right arm to the greatest height his 3 foot and 10 inches would allow. His eyes travelled the length of the rocket held high above his head, out to the galaxies, way beyond the yellowing ceiling of that 2-bedroomed flat in Port Talbot where he lived. "Get that stupid thing out of my way," he commanded. His sister dragged her doll away from the flight path, which Peter was treading between the settee and the window. His missions were always more important than hers. "Get your coat." This command came from their father, but Peter knew it applied only to him. It was Christmas Day, and he was required to visit his cousin, Michael, although he understood that it was in order for his father to have a beer and talk football with his uncle. He took a hurried step towards the hallway, then stopped. The rocket lay inches from his sister's feet. He returned to the launch pad, packed it safely into its box, and tucked it under his arm. The wind whipped across Aberravon Beach, deftly finding the flesh between his short trousers and his long socks. He clamped the rocket against his side to stop himself shivering. "Come on in," said Auntie May. "Michael has been waiting for you all morning." A look of annoyance passed across his father's face. Peter gave him the rocket whilst he took off his coat. Auntie May kissed him and went in search of a hot sausage roll. "Merry Christmas, boy," Peter heard his father say. "Thank you," said Michael. Peter looked into the living room. Michael was removing his rocket from its box with obvious delight. A sharp inward breath hurt Peter's chest as he reached out for it, but Michael was already placing it amongst the rest of his new toys under the wilting Christmas tree. "There's something here for you, Peter," said Auntie May, passing him a small parcel from the sideboard. Peter opened his mouth, but no sound came out of it. Tears pricked the back of his eyes. He blinked hard. A warning look on his father's face made his throat go dry and he coughed. The sausage roll burnt his hand. It was more than an hour before the last bottle of beer was drained and Auntie May closed the front door behind them. The anguish that churned inside him spilled out from his mouth like venom. "My rocket! You gave it to Michael! It was mine!" A vice grip crushed his hand. He cried out in pain. A passerby frowned at seeing a spoilt child having a Christmas tantrum. His father flexed his thumb, making Peter's knuckles grind painfully against one another. He bit his lip, knowing that any further sound he made would result in his ear being twisted or the skin on the back of his neck pinched. Pans bubbled on the stove. The kitchen window ran with condensation. A chicken was in the oven. But Peter wasn't hungry. His sister was singing to her doll. He kicked it and told her to shut up. The knock came on the front door a week later. The doll lay abandoned on the settee. Peter sat rubbing the rash on the back of his hand. His mother's strangulated cry made him stop. 2 workmen followed her into the living room and took their caps off, wringing them in their hands. One helped his mother into an armchair. Peter watched as the other pulled out his father's watch, lighter, and wallet on the table. Then he slipped a cellophane packet out of his breast pocket. "His money," he said. For a while his mother turned it over and over, the opaque plastic crackling in protest. Finally, she opened it and withdrew a bundle of folded notes. She sat looking at them, shaking her head. "Are you sure? So much?" Dreadful business, said the other man. We don't know what to say. Good job he had his hard hat on, mind, or they wouldn't pay compensation. Peter understood that his father would not be coming home from work again. His fingers closed tightly around the arm of his sister's doll. He squeezed it as hard as he possibly could, his fist twisting it right and left at angles. Snap! He had broken it. He pushed it away, setting the line of his jaw against the accusations he expected to hear. It wasn't his fault. He didn't have his rocket.